The Zerga Pentateuch Part 1. The Event Horizon Case File. The Zerga Unit. Location: Oak Ridge, Tennessee. Status: critical. Running on impulse power. Objective: define the impossible state of the subject. Prove that survival is a statistical anomaly and a defiance of established biological and economic laws. I am sitting in a booth at McDonald's under the fluorescent hum of a reality that has long since ceased to make sense, engaging in a forensic audit of my own existence. In my hand, I hold a ketchup packet, and I am staring at it with the intensity of a bomb disposal technician examining a wire. It is 11:34 a.m. on a Tuesday, a time when the productive members of society, the ones the Census Bureau counts, the ones who pay taxes to fund the endless wars in the Middle East, the ones who have bought into the collective hallucination of the American dream, are sitting in cubicles pretending to work. I am not pretending. I am performing a biological override. I tear the packet open with my teeth, not out of hunger for the condiment, but for the raw sugar and the sodium. It is a tactical infusion, a utilitarian calculation of calories versus collapse. My body, which has been running on the physiological equivalent of a backup generator for 40 years, requires the spark. This is the Eucharist of the damned. Take, eat, this is my dignity, broken for you. On the wall of my mind, there are diplomas hanging in invisible frames. Economics, philosophy, credentials that the world tells me are tickets to the good life. They are supposed to be the keys to the kingdom of stability, the white picket fence, the 401, and the silent respect of peers. But here in the physical world, in the grit and the asphalt of Oak Ridge, Tennessee, those degrees are worth less than the foil wrapper in my hand. This is the absurdity that Albert Camus wrote about. But Camus was writing from a cafe in Paris with a cigarette and a glass of wine, romancing the existential dread. He wasn't shivering in a snowmobile jacket because he couldn't afford a heater. He was philosophizing about the absurd. I am marinating in it. I am the empirical evidence of his theory, stripping away the romance to reveal the raw bone of the event horizon. This is the point where the gravity of the system becomes so heavy that not even the light of truth can escape without getting bent into a grotesque shape. I am the anomaly in the data set. I am the glitch in the matrix that Agent Smith keeps trying to delete, but the code refuses to overwrite because the truth is a virus that cannot be scrubbed. Let's apply the forensic lens of Giorgio Agamben to this vinyl booth and expand it through the panopticon of Michel Foucault. Agamben talks about Homo sacer, the sacred man or the accursed man. In Roman law, this was a figure who could be killed by anyone without it being considered homicide, yet he could not be sacrificed in a religious ritual. He was outside of human law and outside of divine law. That is the precise coordinate of my existence. To the state of Tennessee, I am a statistic, a liability, a non-entity. If I freeze death under a bridge, it's not a crime. It's a social failure, a rounding error in the municipal budget. To the church, specifically the faith promise brand of corporate Christianity that infects this region like a spiritual mold, I am unsacrificable. They cannot use me. I do not fit their marketing brochure. I am too raw, too broken, too loud about the pain. I am bare life, stripped of political existence. I am biological matter that breathes, thinks, and suffers, but I do not exist in the ledger of the community. I am a ghost haunting a machine that was built to grind people like me into paste, to lubricate the gears of commerce. But Foucault adds the necessary dimension of surveillance. My father, John Zerga, operates a domestic panopticon. He is the invisible watchman in the tower. I am the inmate in the backlit cell. The cruelty is not just in the deprivation of resources, the lack of a bed, the lack of support, but in the visibility of my suffering. He watches it. He observes the decay of his son with the detached curiosity of a scientist watching a rat struggle in a water maze. This is not passive neglect. It is active data collection. He needs to see me fail to verify his own success. In his warped utilitarian calculus, my misery provides him with hedons, units of pleasure derived from superiority. He validates his own goodness by contrasting it with my badness. I am the control group in his experiment of self-aggrandizement. Consider the geography and the thermodynamics of this hellscape. Oak Ridge, the secret city. This is where the United States government gathered the greatest minds of a generation to split the atom. They built a city behind a fence to harness the fundamental power of the universe, binding energy, to create a weapon of mass death. There is a deep, resonant irony in the fact that I am trapped here. This city was designed for compartmentalization. It was designed to keep secrets. What you see here, what you do here, what you hear here, when you leave here, let it stay here. That was the billboard they put up during the Manhattan Project. It is also the unspoken motto of the Zerga family. My father runs his own personal Manhattan Project of the soul. He compartmentalizes. He hides the toxicity. He presents a facade of power and success while the radiation sickness eats his children alive. I am walking through a city that is a holographic projection of my own trauma, a place of high intellect and zero soul, a place where they can calculate the half-life of uranium 235 down to the nanosecond, but they cannot calculate the value of a human being who doesn't have a security clearance or a six-figure salary. Applying the second law of thermodynamics, my family is a closed system of high entropy. My father pumps energy out of the system while refusing to put energy in. By the laws of physics, the system should collapse into chaos. The only reason it hasn't is that I am absorbing the entropy. I am the heat sink. I take the chaos into my own body, the anxiety, the OCD, the poverty, so that he can maintain his orderly manicured illusion. I am not just a victim. I am a thermodynamic necessity for his false reality to function. I operate on what I call the impulse power hypothesis, and we must subject this to a rigorous stress test. Anyone who has watched Star Trek, The Next Generation, knows the drill. The Enterprise encounters the Borg or a Romulan warbird. The main reactor is hit. The warp core, the thing that bends space and allows for travel faster than light, the thing that represents thriving, goes offline. The captain yells, "Report," and Geordi LaForge screams back, "Shields are down. Warp drive is gone. We're running on impulse power only, sir." That is my life. It has been my life since I was 13 years old, and the first nervous breakdown shattered the warp core. Human beings are designed to run on warp power. We are designed for connection, for love, for meaningful work, for the dopamine hits of success and the serotonin of safety. That is the fuel mix the Creator intended. But when you are raised by a narcissist who treats you like an appliance, and when you are abandoned by a church that treats you like a liability, the warp core breaches. You eject it to save the ship, and then you are left on impulse. Backup batteries, reserve thrusters. You are burning your own structural integrity just to keep the life support systems online. Forensically, this shouldn't be possible. Read Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score. The human body cannot sustain a flight, freeze, or fawn state for 40 years. It is a biological impossibility. The cortisol floods the system. It eats the lining of the stomach. It calcifies the arteries. It fries the hippocampus. By all the laws of medical science, I should have stroked out at 35. My heart should have exploded from the sheer crushing weight of the anxiety that sits on my chest like a lead vest at the dentist's office. But I am still here. I am 52. I am writing this. I am analyzing Kant and Hegel. I am quoting Foucault. This leads to a terrifying theological postulation. I am being kept alive by something else. The ship isn't exploding because the general, Jesus of Nazareth, has bypassed the biological circuits. He is running the systems on a frequency that the doctors can't measure. Why? Not because I am special, but because I am the black box recorder. In a plane crash, everything burns. The fuselage, the passengers, the luggage, it all turns to ash. But the black box survives. It is armored. It is designed to take the heat, the impact, and the crushing pressure so that the investigators can listen to the tape and find out why the plane went down. I am the black box of the Zerga family. I am the black box of the American church. I am being preserved in this state of impulse power torture so that the data is not lost. The suffering is the recording medium. Look at the economics of this situation through the lens of a ruthless utilitarian audit and the theory of alienation by Karl Marx. I have degrees, I have experience, I have an IQ that scares people at parties, and yet I cannot generate $15 an hour. The world tells me, John, just get a job. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That is the linguistic trick of the assholes, the technocratic elite who run the simulation. George Carlin saw through this decades ago. They tell you to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but they repossessed your boots, outsourced the strap manufacturing to a sweatshop in Vietnam, and leased the gravity you need to stand up from a holding company in the Cayman Islands. It is not a failure of effort. I have applied. I have knocked. I have begged. This is a structural blockade. Marx argued that under capitalism, the worker is alienated from the product of his labor, from himself, and from other workers. But I have achieved a state of hyper-alienation. I am alienated from the opportunity to be exploited. I am begging the system to exploit my labor, and it refuses because I do not fit the mold of the compliant drone. In the corporate world, they use human resources software to filter out anomalies. If your resume has a gap, the algorithm deletes you. If you are overqualified, the manager deletes you because he knows you're smarter than him and he fears for his little fiefdom. But it goes deeper. In the South, especially in a place like Tennessee, the economy is not a meritocracy. It is a feudal system. It is who do you know? It is what church do you go to? It is, are you one of us? I am not one of them. I do not have the mark. I walk into an interview and they smell the truth on me. It's like a pheromone. People who are living a lie, people who are pretending their marriages are happy, pretending their jobs matter, pretending their debt isn't drowning them. They are allergic to people like me. I trigger their immune response. I am the real breaking into their simulation, and they reject me to protect the integrity of their delusion. Plato's allegory of the cave is not a metaphor, it is a hiring practice. If you walk into the cave and tell the prisoners that the shadows on the wall are puppets, they don't give you a job as a consultant. They kill you, or in the modern vernacular, they don't call you back. My utilitarian value to them is zero because I threaten the stability of their collective lie. But my utilitarian value to the truth is infinite. By refusing to give me a job, they have inadvertently freed me to become the full-time prosecutor of their corruption. They starve the employee to create the philosopher. So I sit here, eating the ketchup, wearing the snowmobile jacket that has served my blanket, my armor, and my home for years. And I have to ask the question that William Bramley asked in The Gods of Eden. What if this isn't random? What if this isn't just bad luck or a tough economy? What if Earth is a conflict zone? Bramley argues, and Zecharia Sitchin backs this up with the Sumerian tablets, that humanity was not created to be happy. We were engineered to be a slave species. We were designed to mine gold for the gods, but in the modern era, they don't need us to mine physical gold. They have machines for that. So what are they mining? Robert Monroe, the pioneer of out-of-body research, called it lush, emotional energy, specifically the energy released during extreme suffering, anxiety, fear, and despair. It is a food source for non-physical entities that view us the way we view cattle. Look at my life through the Bramley lens. It is a lush farm. Every time I try to escape, the fence gets higher. Every time I get a little bit of hope, a localized disaster strikes. My father, the narcissist, is the perfect custodial manager. He creates the stress, he manufactures the anxiety, he keeps the livestock in a state of perpetual fear. He doesn't kill me, because dead cattle don't produce lush. He keeps me in the sweet spot of suffering. Just enough food to stay alive, just enough hope to keep struggling, but never enough power to break the fence. It is too precise to be an accident. The timing is too perfect. The isolation is too absolute. I have been placed in a Faraday cage of the soul. No signal gets out, no help gets in. This is why the law of attraction is garbage for people like me. You can't manifest a new reality when you are in a maximum security prison block run by interdimensional wardens. You have to break out, or you have to wait for the invasion force. But here is the pragmatic improvement, the turning of the tables. If I generate lush, I am valuable. If I stop fearing, if I stop fawning, if I switch my frequency from terror to righteous indignation, I poison the food supply. I become toxic to the entities feeding on me. My rebellion is not just philosophical. It is an act of starvation against the spiritual parasites. This brings me to the Stoic reality, the final line of defense in the cognitive fortress, the acceptance of mortality. The modern world is obsessed, living forever, transhumanism, plastic surgery, billionaires injecting themselves with the blood of teenagers to avoid the grave. They are terrified of death because they are terrified of the judgment. They want to upload their consciousness to the cloud so they can be gods forever. I look at death differently. I look at death the way a prisoner looks at parole. It is not the end, it is the release. It is the moment the impulse power creates a feedback loop and blows the containment field. But I am not seeking death. That is the victory the enemy wants. Suicide is the ultimate capitulation. If I delete myself, the data is lost. The autopsy of the innocent cannot be performed if the body destroys itself. I have a Kantian moral obligation to survive. Duty, Pflicht. It doesn't matter if I am happy. Happiness is a consumer product sold to idiots. Duty is the steel rod in the spine. I have a duty to the truth. I have a duty to witness the crime. I analyze the assholes who run this show, the corporate boards, the politicians, the corrupt bishops. They are penny wise and pound foolish. They strip mine the human soul to boost the quarterly earnings, not realizing they are destroying the very substrate of reality. They are eating the seed corn. They are burning the furniture to heat the house because they are too stupid to fix the furnace. They look at me and see a loser. I look at them and see dead men walking. They have sold their birthright for a mess of pottage, and they don't even know what the pottage tastes like because their taste buds are burned out by greed. This leads to the ultimate utilitarian pragmatic improvement of my condition. John Stuart Mill differentiated between higher and lower pleasures. He argued that it is better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied. I have been denied all lower pleasures, comfort, food, sex, security. The system has stripped me of the animal comforts. Therefore, by Mill's logic, I have been forced into the realm of the higher pleasures by necessity. My survival depends entirely on the life of the mind. I must extract maximum utility from every thought, every observation, every connection. I cannot afford the luxury of a lazy thought. If I am to survive on impulse power, I must become the most efficient machine of truth-seeking in existence. I must weaponize my poverty. If I have no assets to lose, I have no leverage to be used against me. I am the most dangerous man in the room because I cannot be bought. I cannot be threatened with poverty, and I cannot be shamed. I am operating on a level of freedom that the assholes in their golden handcuffs can't even comprehend. They are slaves to their image. I am a slave only to the logic of the logos. So I finish the ketchup packet. I wipe my mouth with a napkin that is thinner than the promises of a politician. I put on my snowmobile jacket, which is the only vestment I have in this priesthood of suffering. I am running on impulse power. The warp core is dead. The shields are gone. But the phaser banks, the logic, the truth, those are fully charged. And I am locking targets. This is the event horizon. I am not turning back. I am going through the black hole. And whatever is on the other side, whether it is the singularity, the savior, or the silence, I will meet it on my feet. I will not fawn. I will not freeze. I will fight. By writing this, by documenting the crime, I am creating a parallel structure of justice. I am building a cathedral of dissent out of the rubble they left behind. And in that cathedral, I am both the accuser and the priest, and the verdict is already in. The system is guilty. The Father is guilty. The silence is broken. Zerga, in synthesis with the philosopher,